Hi, this is Phil Kerner, the Tool and Die Guy, and today's topic is apprenticeships. And I've talked a little bit about these before, and I was redoing some videos on my website, or going through them. And one of the first ones I did 8 years ago, back in January 2011, was on apprenticeships. And the information was good, but I was just getting started with videos, and the video quality definitely wasn't up to today's standards. So I thought I'd touch on this subject again, for the main reason being that apprenticeships, they're a hot topic right now. People are wanting to talk about the difference between going to college or working with your hands for a living on an apprenticeship. Now, why can't manufacturers get apprentices signed up? Why can't they get kids interested in the trades and getting into an apprenticeship? Because I know one of the big selling points is you can go to college and pay all that money and hope you get a job in your trade or field of study when you graduate, $50,000 or $100,000 in debt, maybe, or you could be learning every day and getting paid at the same time. Well, tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about the secret sauce, what's missing from that. Because if I were to be in charge of an apprenticeship, if an owner of a company were to come to me, or I had my own, and said, you know, what do we need to do to get kids attracted to the trade? Well, first of all, you've got to have a good Facebook account and maybe an Instagram account, right? That's where these guys live now, and, you know, like me on YouTube, right? And you've got to give them something to look forward to. Now, let's talk about that. When I took my apprenticeship, I had a contract, and we're going to go through that in a minute. I've got, of course I have, my apprenticeship book from 1980, and all the notes, all the stuff the company did for me. In college, you know that as long as you keep getting your grades each month and hitting your grades, you're going to end up with, at the end of that, in 4 years, with a degree in something, and that's something to look forward to. And the better your marks, the higher your grade point average, and maybe the better pay you'll get when you get out. But there's always something to keep going, looking forward to, that degree. Well, in my apprenticeship, I knew exactly what to look forward to. I knew exactly what my goals were. I know what the company expected from me. I knew what every month, or every 6 months, I got a review, like clockwork, not put it off, put it off, put it off. So there's a lot companies can do to offer a quality apprenticeship. So let's just take a moment, and I'll show you kind of what mine looked like between 1980 and 83, and how they kept records for me, and then we'll finish up at the end with my thoughts on how to do it. All right, so this old binder is labeled Anson Tools here, Anson 1980 to 1983. This is where I took my apprenticeship at. So here's what I want to teach anybody and everybody out there who wants to learn how a real apprenticeship is supposed to work. This was my book from Anson Tools, and I've kept all this information now for 40 years, and the reality is, to run a good apprenticeship, in my opinion, if I was owning a shop today, or if somebody asked me to run an apprenticeship, this is how I would still do it. And there's a secret here that people are missing, and why kids aren't taking apprenticeships. So this book was created for me. I didn't type this stuff up. It starts with my name in the front, very professional. They've got my birth certificate in there, so they know who I am. This was my contract with the Pennsylvania State Apprenticeship and Training Council Apprenticeship Agreement between the apprentice and the sponsor. And big deal. This was what made it important to me. It made it me proud to do this, because I felt like I was doing something proactive that was state approved. All right. Now, the secret sauce to an apprenticeship we're going to end with, and that's on the next page. I will not bore you by going through this entire book, because there's a lot of information in here. But they've got my wages in here. Just some different forms, but this is some test results. I don't know why that's in here, because I did have to take an aptitude test. That's a secret. If you want to hire good people, give them a simple aptitude test to see if they can add fractions, just stuff like that. Official notices back and forth between the company and the state of Pennsylvania. Change the hours required on each machine. Now, this is a big deal. And this takes a lot of time for a company that wants to do a real apprenticeship to implement and take care of this. But if you want to say you have an apprenticeship program, this is the kind of stuff we were getting more wages, and I'll get into that. But the company did for me to make me feel like I was taking part in a real program. Now let's look at this. Supplemental Tool and Die Makers Apprenticeship courses. These are all the night classes I had to take. Blueprint reading, machine trades and mathematics, jig and fixture design, metallurgy, measurement and inspection, mechanical drafting 1 and 2, which is ironic because that's what I took in high school. I had plenty of that. Mold making and die cast dies. I still have almost all these books here. Oh, let's see. Then they would pay for my night school as long as I got a B or better. And each machine, and for an 8,000-hour apprenticeship, here's what they wanted me to do. A couple of 100 hours in the tool crib, drilling and boring, a total of 1,200 hours, milling machines, a total of, looks like 2,400 hours, lathe, 700 hours, surface grinder, 1,100 hours. I'm adding these two up. Cutter grinding department, well, that was one of the coolest areas I ever worked in. 500 hours. Bench work, 300 hours. Polishing, mold polishing, 400 hours. EDM, another great area to work in. 1,000 hours, and miscellaneous, 200. And how did they do that to make sure, a lot of places don't do what they did at Anson's, but this is what they did do. They actually tracked all my hours. And back then, folks, there was no computers, right? There were no computers. So those were the goals for me to hit, and every month they'd hand me a form. It was hand filled out with every hour I spent on every machine, within reason, okay? Within reason. It's all totaled up over here, and as you can see, the numbers get larger and larger as the dates go on, that I'm getting gradually getting towards the completion or in my apprenticeship moving forward. And each machine is listed here, each area, and they're adding them in and keeping track of the hours I spent on each machine. And that's how you do it. Now, let's talk about the secret sauce. Here's what I really think these places, everybody's missing it. Why wouldn't you take a job where you can get paid for on-the-job training instead of go to college? Not a bad sales point. But here's what I liked about my apprenticeship, and I know it would work for anybody else, but they just don't want to do it. This page right here is the secret sauce. So we'll unveil it, post it. And these were my hours I was going to spend on each machine. We've already talked about that. But what I started at, $3.80 an hour. Then after 1,000 to 2,000 hours, I went up to $4.15. In other words, every 6 months, I knew exactly what I was going to get paid. That was my contract with the shop. And as long as I had the tools they had asked me to buy, I was passing my night school and showing up for work, I was guaranteed this money. And I knew back then, when I finished my apprenticeship, I'd be making $7.55 an hour. And that was in 1983, not too shabby. Now, and also they gave us a little cost of living rate increases. You can see I did some calculations there. So I was going to finish my apprenticeship at $8 an hour. But that is the secret sauce. When a kid knows, or a trainee knows what they're going to be making, they feel like they're getting somewhere. And that's what's missing, I believe, from the training now. This contract was vital. It kept me focused and knowing that if I did my job well, I was learning something every day. I was being kept, they're keeping track of my hours every week. And at the end of every 6 months, I got a raise. And that was really cool. And I don't know if anybody's doing this anymore. I think they're always looking for a reason not to give a kid on an apprenticeship a raise. So why would you do this if you're a kid? So I hope that helps. This is how you do it. You guarantee, you sign a contract, a 4-year contract with these guys and gals, and this is where you're going to go. And there's a 2-year contract, whatever they're doing for apprenticeships these days, and depending on what state you're in. So that's my apprenticeship book of knowledge. Some good stuff. And pass it on, because that's how you save this trade and get kids into it. So that's it. That is a trip down for me, a little bit down memory lane, but I'm glad I've kept that stuff. Again, the secret sauce then is what? You need to give these guys or gals goals to hit so they get a raise every 6 months. And a lot of people just don't want to do that. They keep moving the goalposts, and the kid finally says, you know what, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting my reviews. You got to give them the reviews. If you're going to do it, you got to do it that way. Reviews, give them goals, give them their raises when they're supposed to get them within a week, okay? And retrograde those raises, right? If they were supposed to have a raise January 5th and you don't get to them until January 10th, that raise went effect on January 5th. You got to back pay them for that. That's the contract. I could sell this on kids in a minute if I were able to sign that contract for a company with a student. Now, a lot of apprenticeships now are 2 years based, and mine was 4 years, 8,000 hours, and they've changed a little bit. But you know, there's still the night school and all that stuff. And I like the 4 years because as much as I was impatient to finish mine, it was 4 years of exposure to the shop, which is invaluable. 4 years is 10 times better than 2 years. I know it doesn't sound like that way, but any of you fogs like me know shop experience is so valuable to your knowledge and how you learn. So that's it. Just a couple of different things. Sign a contract with them. Make sure they know what they're going to get paid. Make sure they know what's expected of them. Review them often, when you're supposed to, every 6 months. And you'll get applicants. The final argument against apprenticeships is, oh great, I'm going to train these guys for 4 years and they're going to leave. There's no excuse for the people to leave. I left after 4 years because what they offered me was horrible, and they wanted to put me on nights for 3 years. I'm like, I just did all this work. So I left and did great in my career, and that's the chance you take when you have an apprenticeship program. But guess what? Half the people you hire they're going to have their apprenticeship from somebody else anyways. So it's just a circle, revolving circle. And the more people you hire from different places, the more knowledge they bring in, because there's always different ways of doing stuff. So it's like the circle of life in the tool and die trade, right? Don't ever think about that part of it. You're getting cheap labor with an apprentice, and if you treat them right when they're done, they'll stay. They don't have to leave, but that's the chance you take. That's the way it goes. It's part of the apprenticeship experience. So I hope that sheds some light on my thoughts on apprenticeships. If you have any questions or your polite and well thought out comments, please leave them under the video, and we'll see you on the next video. I'm Phil Kerner, broadcasting from Erie, Pennsylvania, and have a good night.